Anyways, let's get into our last topic of what we're going to talk about. All the dust is almost settled. I mean, for people on, it depends on what side you're talking about. But Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed on Saturday morning or
no, it was 2 p.m.
Afternoon? Okay, 2 p.m.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
So, yeah, it would have been 4 o'clock. No,
5 o'clock
five.
East Coast.
I can't do math. Was confirmed 50-48. I think one of the senators was out of town because of his daughter's wedding, and then
there was an abstention.
What's that?
It means they neglected to vote.
Okay,
like they chose not to vote.
Okay, so then it was 50-48. So I'm not too sure if they would have said the guy that left the wedding would have voted for him or not. So
he was a Republican, so probably.
Yeah, so it would have been maybe 51-48. Kavanaugh was confirmed, obviously, and then there was a lot of backlash, obviously, after that, in the sense, or in the presence of D.C. with all the marches and whatnot, which was going on before that, anyways, and like how crazy it really gotten. Like I can compare, you can really see some comparisons to when like Donald Trump got inaugurated, but I don't think is as severe as a person as what Brett Kavanaugh is. It's kind of crazy to like see what like the scandal and what was going on. I mean, I always have these not arguments or discussions on Twitter or Facebook. And I was talking to one of the good gentlemen, the one back going to like the immigration one, Al, talking to him, and then he was like, I can't believe how I don't know the exact tweet, but he basically said like, I don't know how these Republican senators can kind of think that the FBI had a thorough investigation. I was like, what they did though. And then went into that, and then I told him like what happened and whatnot. like what the nail in the coffin was basically like the boyfriend's like letter for me, and like how I always start with like this specific situation, like any allegation like this, even going back to the Chris Hardwick and
Chloe
Dykstra. It's for me, like any kind of allegation, I'm always 60-40. So like I'm not that far away from 50-50 or for her, but I'm always 60 for the guy just because you kind of have to be. Just because, like, I mean, you gotta give me the evidence, like I said. And after this, I was probably like pretty close, like 80-90-ish for Kavanaugh, just because I've not that like that's pretty definite or definite about him being innocent, but like the only reason why I live that open is because I believe maybe Ford was probably abused, but not by him, by someone else probably, is what I'm thinking. Just because of all the stuff that's going on in it and how the evidence was pulled out and how that letter came out from her ex-boyfriend, like basically debunking everything. I talk about like the helicopter flight where she was afraid of flying, preparing for a polygraph test when she helped another lady out, even though that lady said that she didn't do it, but you could see her bias and all that, and probably why she said that. And then there was another thing. He was like basically with her for like 8 years. Never mentioned this at all. And then there was another thing that was like really like big that I cannot remember right now. I know the polygraph one was big because she basically lied under oath.
There was also a thing in there about...
But that's also he said, she said, so...
Right,
like,
yeah.
But that's, like, proving...
There's
like,
just as much evidence against her in that sense as there is against Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
But, which is nothing. Like, there is no evidence. Even, like, the only thing we have is, like, this boyfriend's letter. Like, he doesn't have any corroborating evidence either, really. Well, there was one point, actually, that he raised, or that came up. Actually, I'm not sure that it was his, but that did come up. It had to do with her counseling and the reason for the counseling. Someone, I think it was like a newspaper or something like that. So her counseling started in 2012 with her and her husband and a therapist and all that. That's supposedly where this whole like Kavanaugh was mentioned for the first time. She testified that the reason for the counseling was that she was afraid of like living in small spaces and living in spaces that only had one exit.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
And so, right, and so like they were going to make a door. They were adding a door to their house as like a secondary entrance. But apparently they've pulled records for, because you have to get a permit to do that sort of modification. So like they've pulled records of like the permits and the construction plans and stuff like that. And according to those records, the construction was completed 2 years before the therapy started.
Mm-hmm.
And that they had also been like subleasing part of their home, and that's what the second entrance was for.
Yeah.
And like that had nothing to do with the counseling whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's just like, it just like, it hurts my head, and I'm like, dude, what? It's not like, it's more in the sense of like destroying a man's name. I get that, but you don't look like a human being when you kind of do stuff like this in my eyes. And like this, I mean, when I told you, like, I was like, oh, I think it was last week we talked, or 2 weeks ago, about this, and like how I was like, I'm afraid for like future boys in the world, because it seems like they're not going to get the same kind of benefit of the doubt that women weren't getting in the past. And I get that, like, I go, oh, women's rights and whatnot, like, I get it, but like we're starting to shift the narrative to where innocence till proven guilty doesn't even exist anymore in this circumstance.
Guilty to proven innocent.
Yeah, boy, not.
No, I mean it is now.
Yeah,
yeah,
but we're starting to change that narrative, and now where you're guilty until proven innocent in this situation. In other situations doesn't really apply, but like this specific one, and I get that, and I saw like a thing that posted about like rapes that are not reported to, or like rapes that are reported. I'm like, that I think we really need to shift not the narrative, but the education to women, that when this stuff really happens, like, we get that you're emotional, but I think an important thing is like, you need to go, and you might be embarrassed, you might be destroyed, you might be withered, or whatever however you describe it, but not reporting these kind of incidences and getting the things done to put this person away that's done this, it doesn't help, because that person could go do it to another girl. That's what I'm. Then that goes to like my niece now. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what? I don't want to call the women that probably got. If let's just say hypothetical, like a woman got, abused or whatnot before, like whatever happens to my niece or something like that, and then now, I'm like, she's just as much as guilty as the man, but I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is why we have these kind of processes. You need to get this done. And like recently, I mean, I'm not going to say the name or who it is, but there was a conversation where I learned about someone having like a stalker, basically. And they had consensual sex before, but then now she's kind of like pushed them away, kind of like said like, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore, just because like, it was just got a little too rough there, and I understand that. But like now it's getting to the point to where he's like stalking her and like saying like these death threats and whatnot. I'm like, she hasn't reported it, and I'm like, this is what needs to be done. Like, this is how you don't get hurt, and then the next girl doesn't get hurt. And I'm not trying to put the blame on women or like that, because it happens to men too sometimes. But I'm like, this is how you change the way things work and how it works the right way. And I don't understand why it can't be done like this. And I get it. I get like women that get abused like this. They're really afraid of going to the authorities and whatnot, and they're broken and whatnot. But like, you can't change anything unless you do something about it. And getting a rape kit is like the perfect way to doing it. And it's kind of crazy to like. I mean, just for me to say this is kind of crazy, but I'm not trying to be a dick or anything like that. I really have so much empathy for people that have gone through like stuff like this, and it's not cool. It sucks. Like I kind of want to start to tear up a little bit. Like I feel like it, but you can't. It's not about satisfaction or like that. You can't get justice unless you do something about it. And like, this is like my thing to like those women out there, like, just. If it if it happens tomorrow, then yeah, you have to get something done. Like, you can't wait on it. You can't sit there and feel sorry for yourself. You have to do something about it. And like, if you don't do anything about it, it's not going to get better. And that's how you make things get better. You don't make things get better by saying it 30 years down the line. Yeah, the man might have a career or whatnot, obviously, but like, you're not doing anything. You're literally just throwing air in the air. You're not throwing anything. You know what I mean?
I think what's important about what you're saying is that, okay.
I'm just adjusting.
What's important about what you're saying is that, like, if you report it at the time, so some of the time anyway, what the excuse is given is that, like, it's a man in power or, like, in a position of power. And, like, this, you know, say for example that Kavanaugh did do this. There's no evidence of that, but, like, if he did, like, if you report it when it happens, like, yes, he became a powerful judge, and now it is much more daunting of a task to bring an allegation like this against him. But if you report it to the local police or to the campus police or, like, whatever, when it happens, like, he has no power as a 17-year-old kid. Like, and I guarantee you, like, if you look at Harvey Weinstein, or I don't know, maybe Bill Cosby, or people like this that, like, have been convicted of things like this, like, I guarantee you the first time that they did something like this was not, like, the first time Harvey Weinstein assaulted a woman was not after he was the head of Harvey Weinstein Productions. Like, I would be willing to put money that, like, it happened at some point before that. And if that person had the courage, to put it bluntly, to come forward, I understand that there's, like, a huge amount of shame involved, and, like, people don't want to, like, relive what happened to them and stuff like that. But the reality is that if that person comes forward, like, Harvey Weinstein doesn't have nearly the power then that he did, like, 30 years later. And so, like, that would help the situation incredibly.
Yeah, and to those guys, I don't know. It just, like, it just got really ugly, and for unnecessary reasons. And I get why the Democrats pulled this little last second plan out, and I get it, because, like, their guy that they nominated last time got screwed. And I don't, like, I've heard someone say, like, that the Republicans did something but worse than what the Democrats did to what they did to Kavanaugh. And I think
didn't destroy Merrick Garland, like, they didn't destroy his life, like they tried to do to Kavanaugh.
And they framed this thing around him to where people aren't going to listen to the actual person. Like, when you look at Ben Shapiro, and, like, if you see those people, like, protesting, they probably don't know anything about Ben Shapiro. They were probably just told that we're going to go protest a white supremacist. And that's what's crazy. It's like these things that are attached to people now that makes no sense.
Yeah, just from, like, the Democratic response standpoint now, like, I've been reading things. It was on Ben Shapiro's show a couple days ago about adding seats to the Supreme Court. And that the people are realizing now that they maybe should do away with the Senate, because the Senate is not as democratic of a, like, entity as it ought to be, because all the states are represented equally, which, by the way, is the whole point of the Senate. I don't know where those people have been for the last couple hundred years. I guess to circle back to, like, the actual, like, Ford and Kavanaugh thing, to me, there were a whole bunch of things that came out, and even during the testimonies and stuff like that, that undermined Dr. Ford's credibility. But to me, the biggest one is the fact that she has now chosen to drop the case against Kavanaugh, which I don't know. I feel like if this was ever at any point about, like, finding the truth of what happened, like, why would you do that? Like, say that he did this. Like, if you believe that he did this, try to find the evidence for it. And, like, if they came back to me a week later, if someone came back to me a week later and was like, look, here's this thing that they found that, like, proves Kavanaugh assaulted this girl, like, then take him off the court. Like, he can be impeached. There's already talk too that, like, if the Democrats when the Democrats take back control of the Senate or whatever, they're going to impeach Brett Kavanaugh. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, like, but, like, why not continue the case if you truly are looking for the truth?
Yeah.
Because, like, if you find it, he'll be removed. He'll be impeached. It'll happen.
I'm fine if it's true. I'm fine with him getting impeached too.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
If he did it, then he doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah. Like, that's another thing. Like, Democrats saying, like, oh, they don't care. Like, oh, wait, dude, if this is true, and you have everything to back it up, then get him out of there.
But, like, you don't get to throw him out before you get the proof. That's the thing. You have to have due process.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know, it's just so crazy, dude. It's just insane on how I mean, the rights. I mean, there's crazy people on the right, but man, dude, there's so many people just on the left. And I'm just like, they're just, well, I don't know if they're blind or something like that, or it just doesn't make any sense. And like how they talk about like the way our government's set up, they don't even know that stuff. They don't know why we have a Senate. They don't know why we have Congress. They don't know why we have judges. They don't understand like why we have these things. That's what's scary. And they want to put people in power that like just say things like when they talk about people being or Republicans being sold stuff on Donald Trump and like, oh, he's not very good at doing that stuff. I'm like, well, Bernie Sanders would have never done that either. Like, what are you talking about? It's the same snake oil. If you're talking about it, then like, Jesus, what? It's even worse on the other side. It's stupid.
So now you've got people marching outside of Congress, and like all the congressmen have to be escorted like to and from everywhere that they go, even in the Senate. And you got people pounding on the doors of the Supreme Court about Kavanaugh's appointment. And Hillary Clinton gave an interview like a couple days ago saying that like she was asked about the whole like civility thing that's been going on. Like, how can we be civil when our values are being attacked? Like the way they like I don't know. The rhetoric has just hit like an all-time high.
Yeah, I think I saw something where she said something like that, and then it showed an old clip of her in like the 90s or something like that. She's like,
you can do that with basically anything any of the Clintons say.
Yeah, I was like,
or
oh
like
my God.
The Joe Biden quotes from when what's her name? When Clarence Thomas was being
back in like
the same thing that happened.
Like
I'm totally blanking on the girl's name.
Yeah.
But like he had this thing. He was in charge of that committee, like the same committee that put Kavanaugh in now. Like at the time when Clarence Thomas was being nominated, he was the one in charge, and he said that, like, you can't, like, there is nothing you can gain from an FBI investigation and like all those things. Have you seen that like clip or whatever?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've seen that, and then talks about him, and it talks Clarence Thomas and whatnot. But like, it goes like
Anita Hill is her name.
Yeah, to say what's it called? Like, just the people don't know. Like the Senate committee has the power to get all that evidence or whatnot, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and if you wanted more time for the investigation, maybe you shouldn't have stalled for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and not done anything with the information.
She had the thing in July. Last day of July, she had it. She waited all like through August, September, or all the way up to the end of September.
Yeah, she like almost 2 whole months. Yeah,
she doesn't care about Ford. Why would she? It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
She's just mad that it's a Republican judge that's being put in there.
Yep, and it really looks like that this whole thing has kind of backfired on the Democrats, because there are like all sorts of polls about how fired up each of the bases are, like among men and women, and like with the result, like Kavanaugh being appointed, like the ratio of like men and women that support like either side, and like it looks like basically the Democrats' lead in the general election poll has like been halved since like this whole Kavanaugh thing went down. And I think that the fact that Kavanaugh did actually get appointed, not that they were going to go to the vote, because it would kind of hit like a really big high when like they announced they were going to have the vote. Like the Republican base was super fired up. But I think like had he failed to get the nomination, even at that point, like it would have been super discouraging, and you would have seen like another, like the polls would have fallen off. It was like, oh well, like it doesn't matter what we do. Yeah. Like they destroyed Kavanaugh or whatever. But like the fact that he like actually got in, I think that's like just super encouraging for like the Republican base.
Yeah, I think there was like within 2 weeks, like the Democrats lost a 15-point lead in one of those polls. I forgot which one it was, but even like I think Ben was describing like white women backing Kavanaugh and like the big increase in that, and I'm like, Democrats, this is what happened during Hillary's election, and you know it's going to happen again, and you're going to get mad again when they might take more seats, or they might hold on to the Senate and Congress, and now you're stuck for another 2 more years. It's like, I don't think they ever learn. Like this,
it doesn't appear that way.
These tactics that they're using are not
gotten
working.
More crazy.
They're just absurd, and I hope they learn. I really do. I really hope they. I mean, just because I think they need to see reality, and I think that's a lot of it.
There goes gravity. Sorry.
I mean, seeing just because like there's a kid on our group thing that like was saying F you to all these Republicans and whatnot, and I was like, dude, like I think you need to like take a break from the internet right now, because he's like, I think he said like I think all Republicans should go to hell. I was like, no, you don't think that, dude. You're just mad right now.
Did you see? Was it a senator that said like, or like women should divorce their Republican husbands or whatever?
Yeah,
I forget who that was. There's like the like I said, the rhetoric has just hit just like a new all-time thing.
but like I was like, dude, you just need to chill out, man. Like, I'm pretty reasonable, honestly. Like all the people I hang out with, outside of like our friends group, I'm mostly, I would say, probably like a liberal or like left leaning, which is fine. I don't care. Just don't talk about politics. I'm just bring up some facts. But
I'll just burn them down.
yeah, but like we get along fine. That's it. It's just the internet crowd. That's is what it is too. It's probably only 40% of the country that's probably like cares about this. The other percent's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean that's true probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like,
I'm glad it's behind us though.
Yeah.
I'm like we have. I'm sure we'll be talking about it a little more in like the next few episodes, but like we're really only like I think we only have 3 more episodes that we'll record before the midterm elections.
Mm.
So
I got my book thing, but we probably have different. There's probably different people we're voting for though.
On a like a extremely local level, yes, but like county, state, and
county,
country.
State, yeah. And then, yeah, even like the congressional districts I think are different just by like the 55 freeway.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I have to double check that.
It must be for House, not Senate. But I don't think Senate.
Yeah, for House. Yeah, for Senate. Oh yeah,
Senate's not even. I don't even think one of the Senate seats are up. It's like Kamala Harris isn't for another 2 years, and
yeah, there's no.
Dianne Feinstein's not. For
there's no Senate. Yeah,
4,
just the representative seats.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,